So the Fani Willis debacle continued yesterday, Tuesday, February 27th, 2024. And it consisted of Terrence Bradley, Nathan Wade's law partner and divorce attorney, coming back into the courtroom on Judge McAfee's orders because his earlier claim last week of attorney-client privilege, where he wasn't able to divulge information between him and Nathan Wade, was considered null and void. And Judge McAfee ordered him back, so he had to answer for that. And so proceedings began with co-defendant Michael Roman's lawyer, Miss Merchant, grilling Terrence Bradley. Everybody thought this guy, it's like, look, you basically said, I don't recall. You mumbled, and essentially you lied through your teeth last week. People were hoping, okay, it's time to fess up. Like, you need to divulge everything. It's time to throw away all your, keep your cards close to your vest. That needs to go. And you need to tell the truth, my friend. And this guy turned into the foggiest, muddled. I mean, this guy made Biden look like an elephant who's a dragon master at chess. I mean, this guy could not recall anything. And if you played the I don't recall drinking game, my condolences, because I know you probably had to be carried out of your house, in a fire truck. It was absolutely abysmal. And so I'm going to probably do another video where I go kind of extensively breaking down what Miss Merchant did and how, contradictory. And even the Judge McAfee, which I give a ton of credit for, he kept interjecting and saying, no, we're gonna allow this. His lawyers, Terrence Bradley's lawyers, Nathan Wade's lawyers, kept coaching through objections, and kudos to Miss Merchant, who kind of brought that to light and brought that to the court's light, and Judge McAfee picked up on it. But today I want to focus on the pit bull, Trump's lawyer Sadow, who is Mr. Sadow, respectfully, who I think did such an excellent job. I'm not discounting Miss Merchant. We had a brilliant live stream yesterday. If you were there, God bless you. It was awesome. I'm going to tell you about details coming this Friday. Ooh, I got some juicy stuff to tell you about Friday. So stick around. I'll get to that. I'm not saying that Miss Merchant did a good job. I do think there were times where she got a little too emotional. I do think there were times where she kind of lost control of the courtroom, and I'll talk more about that. But once they brought in the pit bull, you could see a stark contrast between Miss Merchant and the exemplary experience and track record of Mr. Sadow. You could almost see Terrence Bradley, who was already acting extremely slimy and just full of deceit. You could almost see in his eyes, he was like, he wouldn't even look up. I mean, it was really, really apparent how much these, even Fani Willis, who, acted like a dictator last week, they all kind of are humbled in this guy's presence. You can really see the ethos, the credibility just stream right through. So I'm going to share some clips of Sadow's examination and questioning of Terrence Bradley, and then we're going to talk about what's happening this Friday, talk about the implications. Let's watch this, and then we'll talk about it.
When you say you don't have personal knowledge, what I want to ask you to start with is very simple. Did you have communications with Mr. Wade about the relationship between Mr. Wade and Ms. Willis? It's a simple yes and no.
Yes.
Okay. And is it your testimony that during the time you were representing him, which I understood started sometime in 2018, is that correct?
That's the time frame that I remember, yes.
Okay. Is it your testimony under oath that with regards to conversations with Mr. Wade about his relationship with Ms. Willis, that you only had one such conversation during the time you represented Mr. Wade?
One conversation of what? I apologize.
The only thing I'm asking about is that area that the court said is not privileged, which is the relationship between Mr. Wade and Miss Willis. You've testified that during the time you represented Mr. Wade from 2018 on, that you only had one conversation with him in reference to the relationship between Miss Willis and Mr. Wade. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think that's fairly accurate, yes.
Okay, so out of the entire time, I'm talking about could be 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021. When did you stop representing Mr. Wade?
It was a few months after I left the firm.
All right, give me the approximate time.
I left maybe June, July of 2022, maybe.
Okay, so that would suggest that for, assuming it's 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, and half of 2022, which is in the vicinity of 4 to 4.5 years, you're testifying under oath you had one conversation about a relationship between Mr. Wade and Miss Willis. Is that correct?
I don't recall having any other conversation with Mr. Wade about him and Miss Willis.
Is it your testimony then that you don't remember any other conversation, or there wasn't any other conversation besides the one?
I'm going to object just to ask and answer.
I think he's drilling down. I think that's a fair question overruled.
I don't recall. I would say it was the one, but I don't recall.
You testified that you did have communications with Mr. Wade about him visiting with Miss Willis at a condo or apartment, correct?
I don't think I testified that I had a conversation. I testified that any knowledge that I would have known anything about any condo would have come from that, but I don't recall a conversation about that. I do not recall a conversation about that.
Okay. Do you recall any other thing at this point in time under oath that would indicate when the relationship started between Mr. Wade and Miss Willis?
I do not know when the relationship started between Mr. Wade and Miss Willis. I cannot recall that. I can't. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm going to drill down on that now, okay?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Wade was hired as the special prosecutor on November 1st of 2021. You're aware of that, correct?
I have my contracts to show when I started. No one showed me the contract of when he started, but if he has a contract for November 1st of 2021, then that's correct.
All right. I'm going to suggest to you that the record will reflect that the contract between Miss Willis and Mr. Wade was November 1st of 2021, correct? I want you just to accept that, okay? Is it your testimony that you don't know under oath whether or not there was a relationship between Mr. Wade and Miss Willis before the contract?
I do not recall any dates of when the relationship started. So whether you are pinpointing a date of when his contract started or not, I'm telling you I did not recall any specific date that he flat out said anything about a relationship with Miss Willis.
Okay. Now I want to go, based on what you've just said, let's go to what was Defense Exhibit 26. Okay? In Defense Exhibit 26, which I showed you last time, was 2 pages of text messages between you and Miss Merchant, correct?
Correct.
All right. Now, the first page starts off by saying, Miss Merchant, like, just date, don't hire him. Do you think it started before she hired him? You see that?
Yes, I see it, yes.
And your response to that was absolutely, correct?
I'm going to object, asked and answered cumulative.
All right. So, Mr. Sadow, I do think we went through a lot of these texts.
We didn't go through this whole one.
Just a second, Mr. Sadow. All right. I'm sorry, Mr. Sadow. You said we didn't go through this particular one?
No, we stopped right there. I want to go.
I answered, because this is the exact language that she just stated a few minutes ago. You could read it back.
Okay, Mr. Sadow. Are you saying both of these two exhibits weren't already covered by Ms. Merchant?
It was not gone, this particular language was not gone into. I'm doing it based on the exhibit itself. Well, let's do it this way. I now move into evidence defense exhibit number 26.
All right, and I'd have to search through my notes, but does anyone recall that one actually been tendered in a minute already?
It was.
No, it was only presented to Your Honor for you to take back into camera ex parte to speak with Mr. Bradley and his counsel.
Okay. Ms. Merchant is indicating that it was admitted.
I thought Mr. Sadow admitted it, but I'm organizing, putting them back in order. So I think it might be easier if I just admit the copies of the
All right.
we're all referring to.
All right, so Defense Exhibit 26 and 27 are being tendered.
Well, actually, only 26 at this time, but
Okay, Defense Exhibit 6, any objection from the state?
26.
26.
I'm going to object as it relates to foundation and authentication. It was used to, during the last hearing, for the purposes of refreshing his recollection. And it's my recollection is that it didn't refresh his recollection, but I would renew my objection as to asked and answered and cumulative.
Okay. As to foundation on authentication, I think Mr. Bradley has recognized them as texts that he sent and received, so I think I'd overrule on that basis any other objections to their admissibility from any other defense counsel, and seeing none, Defense Exhibit 26 is now admitted. Mr. Sadow.
Thank you. All right, let's continue. Now I'm publishing it. After you said the word absolutely, on your own, you said it started when she left the DA's office and was judge in South Fulton.
No, I'm
They met at...
Object, asked and answered.
All right, understood, Mr. Body. I'm going to let Mr. Sadow have a few minutes on this, and we'll go from there. But
Judge, I'm sorry. I did answer this. I answered it for Ms. Merchant. I stated that I was speculating. The judge, someone objected to the speculation, but this was the exact same language.
all right, well, thank you
when
for
I
that
said
recap,
that
Mr. Bradley. Mr. Sadow is asking the question in a slightly different manner, and I'm going to give him a little bit of leeway to do that. So, Mr. Sadow.
All right, I hesitate to have to start back where I was, but after the word absolutely, you, on your own, said it started when she left the DA's office and was judge in South Fulton. They met at the municipal court CLE conference. That's what you said, correct?
That is correct.
Now, it's your testimony, at least so far, that when you, on your own, gave those two statements in the text, that you were merely speculating and did not have that knowledge from Mr. Wade. Is that your testimony under oath?
Yes, that's what I testified to. Yes, sir.
So you on your own came up with the whole notion that it started when she left the DA's office and was judge in South Fulton. That's, according to you, that's speculation on your part, correct?
Asked and
Overruled.
answered.
Answer the question, Mr. Bradley.
Yes, that's speculation on my part. Yes.
Right. It had nothing to do with what Mr. Wade had told you, correct?
I answered your question. I was speculating to the answer. That is correct.
So maybe you can tell the court, in your own words, why in the heck would you speculate in this text message and say that it started when she left the DA's office and was a judge in South Fulton? Why would you speculate and say that in a text?
I knew they had met at the municipal court conference.
How do you know that? I'll stop you right there. How did you know that?
I answered that at the last. I knew that.
You now.
I knew that
Sir,
because
I'm asking you questions, and you are in a situation where you get to give answers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm asking you, how did you know that?
How did I know when they met?
Somebody told you that, right?
When they met?
Yeah.
Yes, correct.
Who told you?
Mr. Wade told me when they met.
So you had more than one conversation about the relationship between Mr. Wade and Ms. Willis, because he told you where he met her.
That's
correct?
incorrect. Incorrect.
It's incorrect.
It's incorrect.
Okay. Let's go back to the exhibit. Why would you speculate that that's when they started the relationship? What would cause you to put that down as speculation?
I don't recall, but why I thought that it started at that time. But I do recall that he only met her, and I testified to that he met her at that conference, which was in 2019.
You knew that Ashley Merchant represented a defendant in this case when you were text messaging with her, correct?
Yes, I did. Yes.
And you knew that the reason she was asking you questions about Mr. Wade was because she was trying to show when the relationship began, correct?
No, that's not 100%
Not what the
correct.
beginning of the text message.
This is why I call him the pit bull. You know, on yesterday's live stream, a lot of people in the comments were saying that, like, you know, the judge is helping out. The judge needs to help out Ashley Merchant, the other lawyer. And again, I'm not, discrediting her. I think she's a fine, established lawyer. But again, like I said in the beginning of this video, you can see the stark contrast here. Sadow, the pit bull. I'm the one asking you the questions, and you were put in a position to give me the answers. Why the heck would you speculate to somebody? You know that Miss Merchant, I mean, this guy Bradley is finished. It's done. And did you see how quickly the judge overruled prosecution's objections? Mr. Abadi, I can't really say his name right. I can't remember. Doesn't matter. But let's just say Terrence Bradley's attorneys quickly overruled him because he knew that Sadow was essentially entrapping Bradley. He was caught in his own lie. You were friends and business partners since 2018, 4 years, and your notice how Sadow uses the phraseology. Is it your testimony under oath? And you could see how nervous. I mean, this guy did not see the pit bull coming. And the pit bull, when the pit bull strikes, it's on like Donkey Kong. It was a masterful class of examination, of probing, of questioning in a professional manner, but a firm, assertive manner. You can see why Sadow was hired by Trump. You can see why Sadow is in a position that he's in. Even through Zoom, he's not even there in person. In previous cases and previous hearings, he's there in person, and his presence, his energy, his tenacity, his veracity is palpable, to put it mildly. You mean to tell me, Mr. Bradley, that you knew this guy, you hired this guy, he hired you in 2018, and so 4.5 years, is it your testimony under oath, which is really powerful. It puts the testimony, the witness, in a very, very guilty, almost you could say, let's just say, to put it mildly, unstable state of mind, because he's constantly pounding it home. I know you're lying. This is your chance, under oath, to come clean. And it's your testimony that in 4 years, you only had one conversation, and then in your text message, you say, absolutely, it started way before then. I don't recall. I mean, I stated, I don't recall. I'm sorry, sir, I don't recall. Big, gigantic, capital B, and a big, gigantic, capital S. It's called BS. Mr. Bradley, you're finished. You're done. It's all over. See ya. Wouldn't want to be ya. Mr. Sadow does just such an incredible job. I'll leave a link. So we did an entire live, hearing yesterday. If you missed the hearing, you can fast forward to Sadow's part. I highly recommend you check out Miss Merchant's part, because Miss Merchant does a good job of essentially establishing his pattern of lying. But it was Sadow, like I said earlier, and the judge did a great job of making sure that all the objections were overruled, because these objections have no founding. Bradley is lying through his teeth, and Sadow is doing a good job, as a good attorney should, of extrapolating information and bringing it forth for his client in his client's best interest. This guy was lying. He knows when the relationship started. It started way before Fani Willis and Nathan Wade said under oath, Nathan Wade and Fani Willis are lying. And coming this Friday is going to be a monumental decision by the judge. We're going to hear closing arguments. You better believe I'm going live. We're going to watch it live. So make sure you subscribe, hit that bell notification, follow, do all the good stuff. This Friday is going to be absolutely huge. From what I've gathered from the judge's demeanor, actions, the way that he led the court, Fani Willis took over the court last week. The judge took back the reins, and I'm very impressed with Judge McAfee. I think he did an excellent job. But it's not the judge's job. Again, I just want to say this. It's not the judge's job. And I felt like the judge was helping Miss Merchant way too much, which, I don't know, I think maybe Bradley and Wade's attorneys had good cause for objections, even though it did seem like they were coaching. With Sadow, you can see he is offering ninja assassin attorney legal questioning precision. And he did a great, excellent job of extrapolating the right information. And basically, Bradley, who was just a sweaty puddle of mess, all his lies, all his conceit, all his duplicitousness came bubbling right to the surface. You could see it as plain as day. And the fact that Judge McAfee overruled so quickly speaks volumes. So I'll leave an entire link to that video we did yesterday, the live stream of the entire hearing. You have to check that out. I'll leave that in the pinned comment. I'll leave it in the description of this video in the show notes. You have to check that out. But the implications of this are bigger than this case getting disqualified, than Fani Willis getting disqualified. The implications of this, I believe, and we'll find out Friday, Fani Willis could get barred, never practice law again. Nathan Wade, it's all over. Terrence Bradley could face perjury charges, felony charges, and get disbarred. The three of these corrupt, funneling taxpayer funds, misappropriating taxpayer funds, lying under oath. It's a bad, bad boogie for these guys. I want to throw this over to you. Let's dive deep into the comments. I love our comments section. I try with my whole soul best to answer every single comment personally, as long as they're constructive, positive, productive. I don't answer or respond to attacks or personal attacks, negative, ad hominem. But I want our comment section to be thriving, engaging, full of intelligent discourse and debate. So let's dive into the comments. What do you think of Terrence Bradley? What do you think is going to happen Friday? What do you think of the judge? What do you think of the pit bull, Steve Sadow? What do you think of, what your thoughts are on the outcomes of this? We're going to go live, so make sure you subscribe and follow. We're going to go live this Friday, March 1st, for sure. There is no doubt about it. I'm very, very excited and eager to find out what's going to happen. If you made it this far, in the pinned comment and in the description, not only is the trial from yesterday, but also our free newsletter. It's absolutely free. So sign up for that, because there's a good chance YouTube's probably going to delete my channel. I'm on Rumble too. Rumble and X / Twitter, a little more free speech oriented. YouTube is very, very censored. So if you sign up for our free newsletter, it's your sure-proof way of never missing out on any breaking news, live updates, current events, everything that's important that lamestream, I called it lamestream media, that mainstream media and legacy media won't cover. I'm bringing it to you. So make sure you sign up for that. Check out these videos right here. I'll also leave the hearing right here. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can click that right there. This video is awesome too. Subscribe and follow. And as always, may God bless you, your family, and may God bless the United States of America. I'll see you soon.